speaking of muscles, they're 79% water. Okay, so if you're wondering about how hydration affects your athletic performance, the thing that you need to perform athletically is made up of 79% water. If it's a shriveled raisin instead of a plump grape, then your performance is going to reflect that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Rachel. No, because I was thinking
That was literally the easiest question you could answer all day.
This is going to be a great podcast, guys. We know a lot of things, and our names aren't one of them. Because I was thinking about this is why I had a lag.
We pressed record and you just blacked out.
I can only think of one thing at a time today. And I was thinking about how you and Jill spent a good 30 minutes on the sound and getting everything ready. And it was a lot of problems and a lot of issues. And I just came in and sat in and went, okay, I'm ready. As if everyone was just waiting for me to say that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were waiting for. You to just come in. Okay, I'm ready.
The 45 minutes of sound check and things like that, it was just irrelevant. I just came in and I was like, okay, I'm ready.
Let's start.
All right, I'm ready to start. Let's get on with it.
You know what, guys? If this isn't a lesson and if you're not the main character of your own story, we need to adjust because this is it right here. You are the main character of your life and everything else just falls in around it. You want to have a main character moment today. You walk into a room and just go, I'm ready.
I'm ready. If anyone it's just main character energy. You either have it or you don't. Okay, so we have an awesome episode today, and I'm really excited about it because I have so many fun facts that came from all of the research that went into today's episode. It's one of those things where you're like, I have a fun fact and I just can't wait. It's like when my son learns a new joke at school. He can't even get in the car yet before he's like, Mama, knock, knock. And none of them are funny. But it's, when you have a fun fact, you're like, does anyone want to listen? Because I have this fun fact. But before we get into our episode today, I just wanted to apologize for my unsightly appearance because it's worth apologizing for. But I have to explain myself here because what happened is I'm being terrorized in my own shower. And I couldn't wash my hair today out of fear. Do you want to know?
Well, is it a spider? Because I feel like spiders are the shower terrorists of 2023.
Of all time, really.
Of all time.
But listen to this terrorist that I have in my bathroom because you're not even going to believe this one. There's spiders and then there's this one because no, I can't. So I have to give the backstory so that you understand why I was in such a predicament. I don't wash my hair very often. I try to not wash my hair because somebody somewhere said it's better to not. So I try to just wash it 2 times a week. I don't know if that's gross information to share, but I do take showers. I just don't wash my hair.
No, it's not gross information. I did a poll on this on my Instagram to see how often normal people were washing their hair, and people are going a lot longer than you think. And the other day I said something to Isley. I said, oh, does my hair look greasy today? She was like, you just got it done. I was like, well, it's Wednesday. I got it done on Saturday. I was like, I know I'm drawing this out a little bit. She's like, that's nothing. Sometimes I go 2 weeks.
No. Really?
I know. I said I would never be able to tell.
No, I mean, wow, you gotta have a dry shampoo on 10 for 2 weeks. I mean, even if I did, it would my hair would be I'd be a founding father because it would just be all white and full of dry shampoo. I could not go that long. Okay. Well, now I feel a little better
Slick
'cause
back white founding father.
So, okay, so I don't wash my hair that much, but I'm really glad to hear that I'm not in the, like, vast minority. So, but I do shower, and when I wash my hair, it's kind of a big deal because, like, anybody who knows, when you take a shower that's like a non-hair shower, it's okay. But getting your hair, like your full ass head under like hot beating water is just that's something to look forward to. I enjoy that fully. I love it. So I look forward to hair washing day because I'm like, oh, I get to really like immerse my head. So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm setting myself all up. It's an event. And I get in there, I've got the shampoo in, and I look up and there is a spider that is dangling maybe like 5 inches above my head, like directly above my head. Now, I'm not going to embellish here. This is not a big spider. Okay. I'm not going to embellish the story. It's not like a tarantula or anything. It's a regular spider. But I already have the shampoo in. What am I supposed to do? He's standing in the water,
This
like
is a
the
suspenseful
exactly
story.
well, listen, just try being there, okay?
No, I'm on
So
the edge of my seat. I am genuinely suspenseful because at first I pictured when you said dangling above your head, like looking up and screaming, and you have like a giant mouth. And like,
oh, that's true.
like
Oh,
don't
no.
scream.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, I do know you eat, like, 8 spiders in your lifetime or something, so, like,
You
I try
eat
to
at
keep my
least
mouth
eight.
shut. At least. You should see how I sleep. It's just a gaping black hole. It's just an invitation. All the spiders, come on, crawl in.
You make those
So
statistics go up.
single-handedly, I am, like, the very high end. So I'm like, "Okay, what am I gonna do?" I'm already committed because normally, I will get out. I don't
Same.
I
I'm like, you
I'm
can
getting
have it.
out.
Come on, guy. I'm not. You know what? This is a battle I'm not choosing today. The shower's yours. I know I pay rent here, but you just do what you want to do. I'm out of here.
Right, and for the most part, if I see a spider, like, somewhere in my house, and they're almost always in the bathroom, but if I see a spider somewhere, I don't go out of my way to kill it. Like, we can share, there's enough room for both of us, try not to crawl in my mouth at night, and, like, we can it's cool, it's a big enough house, let's both enjoy it. Because 'cause I'm not just gonna, like, outright kill but this guy, okay, so he's hanging by, I can't kill him, and I can't get out. So I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? So he slowly is like retracting and trying to get back to the ceiling because clearly he had fell. Now, this spider, I don't know if I got the world's worst walking spider or like if he was a noob, first day on his new legs. I don't know what's happening. He'd get back up to the ceiling, he'd take one step and then fall again. So he keeps retracting and then falling close to my head and then retracting and I'm just standing and literally waited until the water was cold because I couldn't get back in the water. And yeah, and then I like half washed it, didn't do any conditioner and just ran away that's my hair today.
You didn't even condition? Wow, that's
What was I
sacrifices.
supposed to
I
do?
don't know. I had pictured like sitting down and then like
Okay, I'm a little further, but if he falls, he's still falling on my head. It was, like, right in the line of where you needed to stand to get your head in the water. It
Yeah,
was,
that's a
like, the perfect
terrorist.
storm.
That's a terrorist for sure. I don't know. I don't know what to do in that situation because I'm the same. Like, if I have a spider situation, I'm like, you know what? It's your day. I'll come back another
I'm
day.
outta here. I am outta here. And so, I had it and I just said, "All right,
You
well,"
know what? I feel like a hat is such a vibe, though. It's like a whole new look. And then you get to feel things like, oh, I'm so in disguise Just give me a pair of sunglasses. I'm famous. And when I walk into rooms, I go, I'm ready.
Maybe that was it. Maybe it's the
It's a
hat that
thing.
gave me
Yeah,
hmm,
it's a thing. I do feel
huh.
like sometimes when you now this is a whole thing anyway, but when you change up things about your appearance or like, you have an outfit and like I have been in a situation where I've been like wearing sweatpants or I put on like a different pair of leggings and then I just started strutting around. Like I didn't even change my shoes. Like nothing about this went to strut status, but now it's all the same day, but you just have a
We're
whole
out
new
here.
vibe and then you just end up like bam, bam, just hitting it.
Maybe after I regain control of my shower, I can have that kind of day.
Yeah.
But until then, here's how I showed up. So,
I am appreciative
all
of
right.
you showing up just as you are.
Thank you. I could have just stayed in bed all day and just wallowed in my own, but then like I would have been only one room away, so I needed to get out of the house. Okay, so you guys, we have a great episode on hydration today, which I can't believe we've done over 200 podcasts and haven't talked about hydration because like staple
And haven't
in
talked about
health
the water.
and we got to talk about the water. Kelsey wanted to make a drinking game where we every time we say water. Oh, here we go. I got the boobly.
Every time we say water during this podcast, you take a sip of yours that is obviously very close by because you don't go anywhere without your water. I also wanted to know, like, water bottles. Are you going around with a water bottle every day? Does it go in the house with you, or do you leave the house with it every day? Is it part of a like, I'm leaving my house, I have my chapstick, my wallet, and my water bottle? Is this everyone? I mean, I pack a lot of things into my backpack. I will say I have a new water bottle that has my nephew on it, which is like making me drink way more water. And I put it right next, when you do this, you're getting your stuff to leave and you put it on the counter and it's right next to like where you leave, and then when you're out and about in your day you see it exactly where it is and you're like, god damn it. Like you're like, I
Yeah.
put it there so that I had to walk by it, and then I was walking by it. Like
Still
thinking,
left it.
yeah, just thinking of, but I have a backup, but just not as good, and it's not my like main one because like everyone weigh in on this, guys. Does everyone have like their go-to water bottle, like they're the one they
Listen,
travel?
if you keep doing this, I'm gonna puke because I did this. I didn't know we were doing this challenge. I got in here, I got boobly, and you're saying it so much, I'm gonna throw up because I got carbonated water and I can't. You know how it gets. I get to burping, and it's like it's not gonna be a good vibe.
It's
So slow
one,
down.
you can't even, it's one can, like, but you
Well,
do get the
still,
burps. Yeah,
I
you
do.
get the burps from it.
So we're going to talk to you guys today about not only the immense importance of water when it comes to like your athletic performance, your just general health in your life. We're also going to talk to you about some common misconceptions when it comes to water, because I think that just like everything in the health and fitness industry, we can take things to like a place where it's like, okay, now we're just overdoing it. And like, there's a whole bunch of misconceptions that people are going by. And then we're also going to give you an idea of how much water you need, you personally, per day, and like some tips and tricks to get some more of it if you feel like oh boy, here we go. I definitely am one dehydrated bitch. I know this about myself. And it was funny because when I was making the list of characteristics of dehydration, it was almost like a personal character list. I was just going down listing all my personal characteristics. And I was like, oh, funny how all those have to do with being dehydrated.
Mm.
So I suck at this. And I just want to say that outright because if you do too, we're both going to get better today.
Yeah, great job because you do suck at this.
I wicked do.
There's a
I wicked
couple
do.
things when it comes to nutrition and just taking care, like general maintenance of like taking care of your body, that Rachel does not excel at necessarily.
Nope.
It's a
Nope.
work in
We got
progress.
TMC, that's too much cheese.
All the cheese.
I I eat way too much cheese and not enough water. Or just hydration, just, like, not anything. I'll just go all day and I'll be like, "Have I peed?
Yeah. No, legit.
That's not good. I've ate 3 packages of cheese, but I've not peed." Listen, all right, we're all getting better every day. We're out here doing our best. Can we give you guys so wait, I gotta give my fun facts out because
Yeah.
it's like it's the joke right after school. Um, did you guys know that 60% of your body weight, thereabouts, is water? Okay, this is why we have said from the very start, please stop weighing yourself and using that as a metric of fitness. Stop weighing yourself and wondering what fat percentage you are or if your fat is lessening. Because if 60% of your body weight is water and we're just weighing ourselves all the time, being dehydrated is going to be rewarded. And like, we know that that is the opposite of health metric, all the good things about hydration and health metrics that we already know. So just like, 60% of your body weight is
If
on
anything else
your
was 60%, and we were like, oh, but like minus 60% of that, and the rest, like, we're using that metric, everyone would be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But somehow this has like snuck through with our obsession over weight and fat and the obsession. And somehow the fact that like 60% of your body is water, and obviously when you are dehydrated, like just the aesthetics, the same thing about aesthetics. I was talking about this the other day when it came to like a photo shoot or video shoot. It was something about not be looking like cut always. And I was like, well, that's not really my, like during shoots and stuff, like I don't look particularly cut, not like when I'm working out, because I'm really hydrated while I'm shooting. Like I'm drinking water, I've had a full breakfast, like all this stuff. My body isn't dehydrated. And when you see a lot of people who are into physique and everything like that, the reason why they look so cut all the time isn't necessarily because they are in general more cut. It's because they are dehydrated. So they're taking all of these like images and stuff in a dehydrated body. And it's like that's not ever the goal. I'm always like more water in. like, like let these muscles
this is what
drink.
I this is what I'm saying. Oh, speaking of muscles, they're 79% water. Okay, so if you're wondering about how hydration affects your athletic performance, hi, the thing that you need to perform athletically is made up of 79% water. So if it's a shriveled raisin instead of a plump grape, then your performance is going to reflect that. Even like things like your bones are 31% water. Like people are constantly thinking about like, women especially like osteoporosis and ways to like strengthen bone density and stuff. Like we're talking about a significant portion, a third of your bones being made up of water. So, obviously we know like your skin and stuff too. So, it's so important that we know that our body is basically one big sloshy water fountain, and we if we're not constantly adding to that, there are some really adverse effects that we're going to see in all areas of our health.
Yeah, for sure. It's just one of those things that you do hear everyone say, like, oh, drink more water. But we are going to give you some, like, kind of concrete facts behind that you might not know, and that would definitely be interesting to you, and ways to know if you aren't drinking enough water. So, we want to talk about the common signs of dehydration. First of all, this is one that I always go to, and I unfortunately use it as a form of guilt, but here we are. If I am thirsty, I'm like, Kelsey, and here's the thing, by the time that you get thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So when you're like, oh, I just need a drink of water. It's like, oh, you've been thirsty 5 hours ago. You needed to drink water so long ago. Clammy skin, headaches, nausea, lack of energy and fatigue. This is a huge one that a lot of people don't know, because as soon as you find yourself lacking energy and fatigue, you go to caffeine, which is obviously a form of liquid, but it's actually going to dehydrate you. So instead of looking maybe to caffeine, sometimes we can look to filling some of that void with water. I know sometimes you just need your coffee, tea, whatever, but you can also be drinking water at the same time, because lack of energy is absolutely increased by the lack of water that you have. Dry nose and lips, muscle cramps, and obviously dark colored pee. I This is one of those things too where you're just like, if you see that your pee is really light, you're like crushing it. For us here at CVG, our bathrooms are really far away though, so I kind of find it a small irritant that I have to keep getting up and running down the cold tundra of a hallway. But you know what? If nothing else, it adds a little bit more getting up and movement throughout your day too.
Yeah, I mean, that's my checklist of just my general behaviors. I have found that one of my main lacking signals is like thirst. And so I don't know if I've trained that. I'm sure I have. Either I am so out of tune with that, like, signal from my body, or I have trained myself to be thirsty so regularly that I don't notice that as a change. So it's like not firing for me, like, oh, you're thirsty. But those are literally, that's like all of my things. Everything, clammy skin. Have you ever felt my hands? Like, I can't even wear the thumb hole things because this like part on the palms is like soaked.
Yeah,
I'm
your
not
hands are
joking.
always
Yeah, I'm
clammy. I
not
know
joking.
this. I
I
know
know.
this very much about you.
But I didn't know that that was a sign of dehydration until I did this and I was like, "Oh my god." And yeah, like dry nose, like, so it's just every single time. One thing I have improved on is every single time I have a headache, I'm like, "I know what this is. This is a lack of water." And I've stopped reaching immediately for like pain relievers and just said like, instead I'm going to drink like a full glass of water and I'm going to wait, and it's, if it persists, then I'm going to take something. But I think most likely I know what all my headaches come back to, which is that I haven't drank any water and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Did you guys know? I got another fun fact.
I know. I love your
Did you
fun
guys
facts.
know water is how your body transfers proteins and carbs to metabolize them? So, like, if you're like very invested in upping your protein and like your performance and, you know, your macros, all that work that you're doing to um, make everything sort of the ideal conditions for your muscles to be able to grow is not doing shit if there's no water in there to transfer all of those macronutrients to like metabolize them correctly. So it's so important. And one of the things you just said, one of the most common misconceptions about water, and you gonna learn today. Did you know caffeine is not dehydrating?
Oh.
Well, it that's like a weird thing. It's like one of those things that has some truth, and then but then it's like, yeah. So we're gonna go over some common misconceptions about water intake. And I guess we should just start there because I've always been told that too. I've always been told that if you're drinking like a coffee or a caffeinated beverage, you're basically, instead of going into the positive of hydration, you're going into the negative because it's like it's a dehydrating thing. So, a little bit of a misconception. Caffeine itself, like the that thing, caffeine, not like the coffee, not the actual coffee itself, like the liquid, like caffeine is a diuretic. So that means it makes you pee more. So that's why, like, when you have a
Makes you do
coffee, like
everything.
you're always running to the bathroom. That's true. That's true. But um when it is put with, like, you know, the amount of water that goes in a typical cup of coffee or tea, the amount of water that's actually in there is enough to offset any like extra fluid that you're going to lose from peeing more. So, yes, it does make you pee more. That can cause dehydration, obviously, but there is enough water in most coffees and teas to like offset that. You're not going to be in the hole. You're just not going to be adding to your hydration as much as you could if you were drinking another form of beverage. We don't know, or I don't know, what caffeine just does to you just alone. Like if it's just in a pill form and it's not coming in any kind of a liquid, I don't know if that holds. But I do know when it's coffee or tea, you're basically setting back to like zero ish. Do you think that's cool?
What'd you say?
Do you think that's cool?
I think you're so cool.
I know. Well, listen, like I've thought that my whole life. I've thought, oh, I'm drinking a coffee and I have to make up for this because I'm
I
going to be
find so
dehydrated.
here's what happens to me. I find, since I'm a big coffee drinker, I love me some coffee in the morning, but what it comes down to is the fact that like I, similarly to something like alcohol, where you're drinking a lot of it and then you're peeing so much and then you're not actually hydrating at the same time. What happens to me is that, like, for a long enough period of time, I continue to do that. I end up getting a headache. I end up sitting there and being like, why do I feel, I have had a lot of coffee, I feel lethargic, I feel um not hydrated. But it's really one of those things where like you're going on throughout the day and you're consuming something, so you're like, I am drinking right now, but you're not actually hydrating. And I think that's where we kind of have a difference, where it becomes like, am I hydrating right now? Like, no, I'm just kind of like staying even and I'm breaking even throughout the day, but like I'm not actually hydrating. And my goal throughout the day, and how I think of like my skin and how I think of my muscles, which is one of the, like, for me, which is a motivator, is like to continue feeling well and like lubricate your joints, lubricate your muscles, which is all happening when you're increasing your hydration. If nothing else, guys, if you don't even care how you feel and you're like, I want to have nice skin, fine, drink water for your skin. Like,
Worth it.
whatever. But it's just one of these things that has clicked, I don't know, later on in life, because when you're drinking alcohol, that, and I equate that similarly when I'm drinking a lot of coffee, is that you kind of end up feeling a little bit terrible, but you can really offset that and like help your body by just adding in a bunch of water as you're doing any of these things. So hopefully during this podcast you've been sipping water as you've, at every time we've said it. But if nothing else, that you can add it as you go, or you're drinking whatever it is you're drinking, or if you're, on your Friday night and maybe you're going to have a couple beverages, that every time you have a beverage you're having some water as well.
It's important. And I've got some more common misconceptions. People are trying to optimize drinking water to a point where it's like a little bit silly. Drinking cold water burns more calories. Um, come on. Come on. Like, this is splitting hairs. The temperature of your water does not make enough of a difference to make it a thing. Okay. Like, yes, there's some thermogenetics going on there, but it's like, for the most part, the most important factor when it comes to the temperature of your water is the one that you like. It's just like everything else we say. Like, is there an ideal? Okay, sure, if you want to split hairs, but the ideal one in terms of like what's consistent for you is going to be the one you'll actually do. So if you love icy cold water, drink it. If icy cold water is like sounds horrible to you in the middle of February and you're like, I'm not going to drink that because I'm already freezing, then don't make your water icy cold. It doesn't make enough of a difference to make a big deal out of it.
For sure. And next one is, carbonated water is less healthy than flat water. This is obviously dependent on what else is presented in the carbonated water. A lot of times we're using things like carbonated water that are like very sugary beverages, and or have a ton of added sugar, and calling them water. A lot of these, like, sometimes we're putting like drops into everything, but added sugar obviously has affects the health benefits of any drink, but carbonated water alone without any additives doesn't affect hydration benefits. So you're still getting your hydration in there. And if it's something that you like and is helping you drink more water, these are all just like, it's all the same thing. It's honestly like, if this is how you get movement in, get movement in. If this is how you can hydrate better, continue to do that and you hydrate better. If chicken you only like it from, certain sources, then you're still getting your protein in, do that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where there are people that just don't enjoy like quote unquote plain water. And if you need to like add some carbonation, absolutely do you, boo-boo. If that's going to make you drink the water, yeah. Just be careful when you're looking at the ingredients. You don't want a carbonated water that is going to have a ton of added sugar. You don't want like, things you don't want. So the other one I have is the if you're hungry, just drink a glass of water. I freaking hate that shit. I freaking hate that shit.
Well, here's the thing. A
Okay.
lot of these myths are really based on what like this like obsession with your caloric intake and a misunderstanding of your metabolic rate. So it's one of those things where like we're having these weird obsessions without a full understanding of what your metabolic rate, your caloric intake versus your output. And it's just kind of like all of these things put in any type of way are not really moving the needle at all. And they're really just distracting from what the important thing is.
Not only distracting, but the idea that if you feel a hunger cue, that you should drink a bunch of water to try to mask that is just teaching you to not trust your body. It is full of like, let me just put off eating for as long as I can. It's diet culture 101. So, you know, is is there an amount of trust that you need to have for yourself that like if you're hungry you're hungry and if you're thirsty and like that you can tell the freaking difference? Yeah, I think you can. I trust you enough, and I do want to say there's tons of benefits to drinking water with your meals. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. Like in fact, like it absolutely has been shown in all kinds of scientific evidence that it helps you metabolize your food better and use your calories more effectively throughout your day if you drink with your meals. What I'm saying is, if you feel hunger, please do not replace eating with drinking a glass of water to try to trick yourself into like feeling full or something and buy into that diet culture mentality, because it really is just like not going to support long-term fat management at all, and it's just asinine.
Well,
I
I
don't
just think
like that.
any of these other things that are creating any type of mistrust or lack of confidence in what you actually feel is just one of those things that like we are never moving towards a better, healthier, happier life if we take steps continuously away from building confidence in ourselves. And that is to be translated into every aspect of your life. Because if you don't have confidence in what you feel in your own body and how you move and how you interact with others, then how are we moving about in the world? And it's one of those things that like is most lacking in every woman we talk to, and we think we can hope and wish it away while we continue to subscribe to these methodologies that build a lack of confidence in cues that you're experiencing only in your own body that no one else can feel. So it's one of those things like when you finally attack something that only I can feel and tell me that's wrong, it's like the baseline of building mistrust and lack of confidence in yourself.
Yeah, and I hate that shit. I'm not here for it. If there's one thing that I could say to anyone trying to, better their health and their nutrition and their lifestyle in general, I would just honestly start with trust yourself. And then everything from there is going to be just about finding your way and your road and your path and what works in your life. Um, the last one that I wanted to say is that a lot of people, it's a common misconception that water alone isn't enough to replace lost hydration during exercise. I think this is super, super common among people. I see kids at sports events, and they're just packed with the Gatorades and whatever, and the parents are thinking that they're doing a necessary thing because like lone water is just not going to be enough to rehydrate them. But I do want to challenge this because for the most part, obviously this is going to be highly personal because it's based on like environmental things, like how hot it is outside, how much you personally sweat, how much like intensity, whatever. But for the most part, unless you're exercising for intensely for more than 90 minutes, you don't need anything else other than water. You're just taking in unnecessary sugars for no reason. And like your teeth are not going to be happy about that. I'm not even saying like sugar's the enemy. I'm saying just like sugary beverages like on your teeth are just not, they're not it. So yes, if it's excessively hot, if you're at a really high altitude, if you're like a person that just like is an excessive sweater, you might need a little bit more than water if you're out there for more than 90 minutes. But for the most part, people don't. And, if you're in like marathon conditions or any of those that I just described, there are some alternatives other than sugary drinks like Gatorade and stuff that you can have that are going to replace electrolytes that are going to be a lot better for your teeth. um, if you find yourself like in a marathon or you're worried about your kid working out double sessions for football in the 100-degree Texas heat or whatever, coconut water is an awesome one. Pedialyte, people don't utilize Pedialyte enough for their kids. I feel like it's like one of those things where we do it when they're sick, but we don't like all those benefits that we're trying to rehydrate them when they have like diarrhea or when they're throwing up. It's the same as if they were intensely exercising. Even just like a fruit and vegetable smoothie is going to do great things for your hydration without all of that like added sugar. And there are electrolyte infused waters that don't have any like sugar additives or juice. It's just electrolytes in it and nothing else. So, I just think it's good to have the knowledge that because we've been sold for a long time by a lot of really good marketing companies
Well, that's what
that
I
it
was
is
gonna say is that
necessary.
this
Hmm.
whole thing was taken over by Well Done Marketing, who put professional athletes at the head of it and said like, "Hey, this is what is going to this is if you're doing any type of physical activity, this is exactly what you need to be successful in that activity." And it's just like, wow, we really took that to the extreme where like, at a basketball game, you got a kid who's maybe playing 50% of the time and it's like all the Gatorade. And you're like, what? Are you even sweaty? Like, it's been really, really good marketing that has really taken over on that. And if that's the way that, if that's what you like and that's the way you're going to get it in, like totally, but just don't have it as the backdrop of, I know what I was told when I was growing up and playing sports was like, you have to drink this after, like you're so depleted. And I was like, I don't really feel that depleted.
I think it's one of those things where people think it's the automatic go-to, and if they sort of realize that there was an alternative, they might like it because there is a growing evidence to all of those sugary drinks and what they are doing to our teeth and our just our general health. um as far as how much water you particularly need, you yourself, I really want to highlight the fact that there is no one size fits all equation that you can put like your height and weight and see what your water intake should be. It's not like that. There are so many factors that are individual to you. So, I think that unfortunately, like all things in health and fitness, this is going to be one of those things where you need to figure out your place. And it's going to be a lot of intuition. But just as a baseline, 11 to 12 cups per day for women is a good jumping off point. You might find that that's too much or too little for you, but that is just going to be based on you personally. But if you're just looking for a jumping off point, factors where you would need more than that would be if you're living in a really hot climate, if you're living at a high elevation. I didn't know this, but people at higher elevations lose more fluid because of like the changes in their respiration. So like sea level people don't aren't using as much fluids in the day. So I didn't know that. But yeah, I think this is definitely one of those things where you got to find you're perfect. And once you do, you can kind of like recreate that every day. But along the way, you might find like, oh, didn't quite have enough today. Definitely could have used some more. Oh, it's turned over to summer and my previous winter water goals are not cutting it anymore. I'm not feeling enough energy, like stuff like that. It's always changeable.
Or if you're in the middle of workouts and you keep getting cramps, or your feet keep cramping, and you know this anytime that you've had kind of like um, maybe a weekend where you were like away, you maybe drank some alcohol, you didn't drink that much water, you come back, your first session back, you go to like start stretching and your feet are cramping. Yeah, that's why.
Sounds like a personal story.
Actually, I've seen this happen to several of my training partners. And I like literally, and even so, it happened to my dad one time as he had been off for like 2 weeks and had come back, and me and Isley stretch at the end of our session, and he couldn't make it through like the group stretching. Because he cramped twice during the stretching, and we were like, maybe you should go drink some water, have a banana, and come back to this because like
Yeah.
it's not
Maybe
happening.
a little less
Yeah.
beer and a little more self-care. Yeah, no, it's true. It's so true. Um, the new thing, of course, is that people are worried about overhydration. And that's just kind of one of those things where it's come to the forefront that people should be hydrating more. And then there's always too much of a good thing. And we see, people have, there's these stories of athletes overhydrating, and that can be really, really dangerous. I do want to say
Yeah.
that it's, it's really very much more likely to happen as an exercise induced thing. So I don't want people to think that, upping their daily water intake, sitting at their desk is going to be potentially dangerous for overhydration. I mean, more often than not, this is exercise induced, and this is extreme endurance athletes that are under very intense circumstances where their sodium gets too low and it gets diluted with too much water, and that you can't have it out of balance like that. It overwhelms the kidneys, and it's dangerous. So if you have a prolonged or a period of time where you're like doing an ultra marathon, a marathon, or you're like extreme sweating for like a lot of time, that's going to be a place where you're going to want that coconut water and stuff like that. But in under like a normal everyday setting, you're not going to overhydrate. You're going to know before you do it, because your belly is going to tell you less water. It's too much, like you're not going to overhydrate sitting at your desk. So I just want people to not be like super worried about that, because I've seen like a lot of concern that,
Well,
people are.
here's the thing though, and I just have to speak to that for a second, because when we use exceptions and not the rule and act like they are much bigger than they actually are, I get a little bit annoyed by that, because the number of people that are going around on a daily basis that are generally dehydrated, and I'm not talking about the amount of dehydration where you need an IV pack or anything, but are generally dehydrated, are not having enough water during the day, far exceeds the number of people who are the number of endurance athletes that have overhydrated their kidneys without, other nutrients. It's just like the balance there is just way off. So like I'm glad you brought it up in a sense of like this has joined the conversation. But if you're just a person going around living your life, drink a lot of water.
It's it's a good idea. Don't drink till you're uncomfortable. Don't be forceful
Is this
about
yeah,
it. I
but
mean,
is
it's
this
like
so
everything else.
American? Like,
I
do
know.
we like, do we have to, like, so overdo literally everything? It's just like
We do it big.
we do it big, and it's just one of those it's one of those things where it's just like, "Oh god, this is so American of us." Like,
You tell
uh
me to drink water, I'm gonna drink 90 gallons. I'm gonna see how that goes.
and
Like,
and
everything in
but
my body
it's
was
like
saying, "Don't do that."
and it's the same thing with exercise, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to hit my exercise routine. I'm only going for 2 hours a day. And like, never mind the like 10 minutes of stretching that I need. And that purposeful movement is very impactful to overall health and wellness. But like, it only counts if you're like, if what's his name? David Goggins. You know what I mean? If you're only like, stay hard, motherfuckers. Like, it's just like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa. Like,
Can
there's
we
a
bleep
lot.
that?
Can we believe that?
That was a hard ask.
That's his whole thing. But it's just like this on this podcast. We're going to continue to talk about balance. We're going to continue to talk about wellness and a healthy lifestyle because ultimately that is the goal. In none of the things we'll have like over 200 episodes worth of topics. And if you take any one of those topics to the extreme, it has become a bad thing because nothing working in extremes is health and wellness because health and wellness is balance. We have to be able to balance all these other aspects of our lives. You're a human, you're living in this wild rock, whatever, and you have so many different things going on in your life. You're trying to answer text messages, drink water, take your kid to soccer practice, get your mental health in check, your physical health. Like you have an endless list. And I want to make sure that water is still on there, but we don't go 100%, we don't go over 100% in any other direction.
Fitness in health is balance. It's like basically synonyms. So I love that and yes, be less American about it. Um, okay, last but not least, just a few tips to help you. Maybe if you are like me and you're like, I gotta change this. I don't want to live like this anymore. Um, I've had all the cheese, but just not enough water. A couple of hacks. I mean, you know what will work for you best, but these are kind of things that as I have gone through the years, I do find that they help me. A fun bottle. I love a fun bottle. You know what messed me up though is I love a fun bottle and I feel like I drink a lot more when I'm using a straw, but then it came out that straws give you wrinkles. You're not supposed to, do this all day,
No, anything too repetitive like that is not what you want to
right?
do. Yeah.
But it really helped me drink more because it was like a fun, I don't know, I have like an oral thing.
Yeah.
So if it's like a bottle with like a cool,
A lot of people have
thing.
that. I know the people a lot of people that I know that do a nice job with their water bottles and their hydration every day all have straws and they definitely find that it helps them. I used to find that, but then I went in the other direction of that where I felt like um I felt like straws, like I could never get them clean enough. So then I didn't want them. Like, you run
That's
them
the
through the
other thing.
dishwasher and stuff, but I'm like, and I had the like little, like the long thing you like stick through. But I'm like, how good am I getting in here? Like I can't like scrub it. And then I would start thinking about it sitting over there, like growing bacteria. And I was like, never mind. It's like
But
hindering.
once you get in a good role though,
Yeah.
because I think that's the key is like if you can get in a good role with it and you start with a straw and that's like kind of your training wheels, and then you say, all right, the straw is kind of grossing me out or whatever, but I've already have this habit in place, then you'll do, you know what I mean? You're more likely to do it. So I think if you want to use it as training wheels, it's a really good tactic. Get a cool bottle that you're like excited about, spend money on it. You know what I mean? Like a good bottle is worth money. I feel like, a good tumbler is worth its weight in gold. I'm just saying.
No, I
Don't be
just think
cheap
it's
about
so
it.
funny because I talked to okay, Mark's Rachel's husband. I talked to Mark about it, and he has a water bottle that he loves. And we always bring our water bottles into meetings. And he's like, "You love that water bottle? I love my water bottle." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know you do." And he's like, "When I found out how much it was, though, I was like this." And then he's like, "But then you know what? And then I loved it more." Like, I was like, "You
It was a
won't lose
gift.
it." Yeah, he said, "It was Christmas." And I'm like, "Oh, you got a nice water bottle for Christmas?" But
I got it for
I
him.
know, I know he wouldn't buy
Because
that for
I
himself.
knew I knew he would never buy that for himself,
Yeah.
but I also knew the benefits of a great water bottle and that it is worth it, and you can't be cheap about it, and you gotta yeah, it's freaking worth it, and he uses that thing every day. What other thing do you use every single
This
day?
this is one of my main this is one of my main arguments for things like that. I'm like, you are using it every day. Like, that's something that you want a good one for. And I told you guys, mine has my nephew on it. I love it. I'm definitely not losing it, and I'm bringing it everywhere. So I'm like, all right, this works for me. Except when I forget it on my
I mean,
kitchen counter.
I got that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also my gift. I feel like I've done a lot of good water bottle gifting. The dehydrated one gifts everybody water bottles. Do I have one? I
Projecting.
do not. I am projecting, you're right. Um, Tip number 2, don't chug it. You know what I mean? That makes you feel crappy. If you're like, "Oh my god, I haven't drank water," and then you just chug a bunch of water, and you end up feeling, like, all sloshy, and you're like, "Oh, I don't wanna do this again." Don't chug it, just spread it out. Like, drink every hour rather than realizing at 2 o'clock that you haven't drank anything and trying to chug an entire bottle. Like, I'm speaking to myself here.
I know you I know you are. I try and do the little sips. It actually becomes more of a habit for me where like I'll put it in a bottle that's right next to me, so I'm talking to people instead of fidgeting in other ways. I take sips of water, and it actually helps with I'm a bit of a fidgeter. So it is I actually realized this later in life that some of my fidgeting habits were does that, if anyone knows the term masking, it is like a neurodivergent term where like you tend to do things to mask behavior to make it more normalized that you're moving all the time. So a lot of people who have something like that they do repetitively or that they do in social settings where they try and mask that behavior, they try and do something that might be socially acceptable. For instance, touching your hair, pinching your skin, or it could even be, your cuticles, pulling your cuticles, things like that, shaking your leg, any of these type of movements that would appear to be more socially acceptable with others. So you could continue movement so you're not jumping out of your skin, but that it wouldn't make you stand out as much. So I have noticed several of those that I've developed over the years, because I think I'm a pretty good masker. And one of the ones that I have noticed later in life is sipping or doing something like orally sipping water, having something in my hands all the times is definitely one that I use. And I'm not even thirsty or whatever. I'm just using it as like a way of getting like some like socialized normally movement.
Yeah, but that's actually the best way to drink is just like little sips. And I bet your cuticles look way better because you don't have to rip them to shreds
Yeah.
because you have something else to do with your hands. So that's like there's so many wins. Um if you need to download an app, if you really truly are not getting those cues from yourself, like you've trained yourself over a long period of time to ignore thirst cues, or you're just so busy that you're just constantly forgetting, download an app. It'll send you a little push notification every time you need to drink, and like it's helpful. It's training wheels. After an amount of time of doing that, your thirst cues will come back, and then you'll be able to drop it. But like it's helpful at first. And my last hack is to, like, I should be giving hacks. This is ridiculous. Um I have done this. I stick with it for amounts of time, but then it gets like annoying. Infuse your water like with fruit and whatever. Like if you need a little flavor, I will do it when I'm feeling bougie and extra and like have my life together. But when I don't, I know I won't. So I'll just have like bouts where I'll come in with these awesome
Yeah.
infused waters. Oh, look, strawberry today. Oh, pineapple. And then I'll come in and I'll be like, I haven't drank in 3 days. You know, if it helps you, I don't know.
It's so true. I'm like, here she is. She's got her infused water again. We're in one of those swings, and then
I'm
a
manic.
couple weeks later, she's like, I'm like, have you had any water today? I haven't peed in 3 days. It's like, whoa.
Oh, shit.
All right, guys. I hope that these hacks help you out to intake some more water, feel more hydrated, feel more energized throughout your day, throughout your week. And maybe it's one of your lift or drops this week. But what's your lift and drop this week, Rachel?
Oh, no, I can't. I'm no. All right, drink more water.
What are you
I'll
dropping?
try. Not drinking enough water.
Just gonna limit cheese.
No, I'm not. I never agreed to that. I never agreed. That was Kelsey's voice saying that. That was not my voice. I will never agree to that. You take that back.
You take that back. Um, I am lifting into this day or this week being more present in the moment. I think I've gotten myself a little bit worried about the future recently, and I think I should come more into the present and the people that I'm looking at right in front of me. So that is something that I would like to take more into this week or this day. We're working on days here. I
Yeah, this
am
hour.
just hours. I am dropping. What am I dropping? Let's try.
The straws.
What? The draws?
The straws.
Oh, the
No, the
straws. I
straws.
was like, I'm dropping my draws.
Oh, damn, girl. Sometimes you gotta.
Sometimes you got it. Um, all right, what am I dropping? I'm dropping some I mean, I keep doing a little bit of judgment of what I'm dropping. I'm dropping a little bit more judgment on like imperfect things, things that I feel like I'm not like doing as well at, or like, oh, you didn't do, you know, I didn't I like ordered a bunch of like I ordered lunch a bunch of times this week. Like you got to get better at you bringing your meals, doing the more things in the morning. Like blah blah blah. It's like a lot of judgment. So I'm dropping a little bit of judgment and going more with like you're doing your best. You're doing your best
I love that
because
for
that
you.
is true.
I love that for you. We're all out here doing our best. And you listening, go drink some water, you beautiful but dehydrated bitch. We love you. See you next week.